My name is Marin Calloway, and I am 31 years old. 2 weeks ago, I collapsed in the washroom of my office on the 14th floor of a glass tower on West Georgia Street. Ruptured brain aneurysm. The paramedics said another 40 minutes, and the bleeding would have been irreversible. My mother got the text from my colleague at 6:15 p.m. By 6:40, she had read it. By 7:30, she decided that my brother's engagement party at the Fairmont Chateau Whistler could not be rescheduled. By 9 p.m., my entire family was on the Sea to Sky Highway heading north, champagne already chilling in the back seat. I spent 6 days in the neurology ICU at Vancouver General Hospital, alone. Or so I believed. When the nurse finally handed me the visitor log on an iPad, one name appeared every single night. A name I had never seen before. A woman who sat in the hallway chair outside my room from 8 p.m. until midnight, 4 nights in a row, without once coming inside. A woman who transferred $211,000 into a trust account in my name and asked the hospital social worker to never reveal her identity. When my mother walked back into that hospital and saw the name in the log, she dropped her purse. Her hands started shaking, and I understood, for the first time in 31 years, why she had never once looked at me the way she looked at my brother. Every second Thursday, my phone buzzes at exactly 7 p.m. Pacific, not because my mother misses me, not because she wants to know about my week. Thursday at 7 p.m. is when Janet Calloway calls to update me on expenses. "Marin, sweetie," she said, her voice carrying that particular warmth she saves for when she needs something. "Your father's truck needs a transmission rebuild. That's $3,200. And Connor's restaurant needs the liquor license deposit. Another $4,500. Oh, and the property tax bill came in. Kamloops went up again. Can you cover it? $1,900. I did the math while she talked. $3,200 plus $4,500 plus $1,900. That's $10,600, on top of the $1,500 I already e-transfer every month. Mom, that's almost $11,000. I just sent you money 2 weeks ago for..." Her voice sharpened. "Just slightly. Just enough. Marin, you don't have a mortgage. You rent a studio apartment. You don't have children. Connor is building a business. He's taking risks. He's trying to make something of himself. You have a salary. A good one. What else are you doing with it?" I wanted to say, "My RRSP is empty. My TFSA has $600 in it. I haven't taken a vacation in 4 years, and I eat rice and frozen vegetables 3 nights a week because I keep draining my account for you." But I didn't. I never did. "I'll send it Friday. Tonight would be better. The mechanic wants a deposit first thing." After she hung up, I opened the spreadsheet I've kept since I was 24. 7 years of records. Every dollar I've sent home. Every emergency that wasn't an emergency. Every loan that was never repaid. I scrolled to the bottom. Total. 214 cents. I earn $118,000 a year as a senior project manager at a climate tech startup. After taxes in BC, that's roughly $87,000. I've been sending home an average of $30,657 per year for 7 years. That's 35% of my take-home income. I scrolled through the reason column. Connor's failed food truck. Connor's credit card debt. Connor's DUI lawyer. Connor's condo damage deposit. Connor's trip to Portugal to find himself. Connor's restaurant build-out. Connor's new truck, because the old one didn't match the brand. 92% of the entries had my brother's name attached. My phone buzzed. A text from Connor. A photo of a ring box. Cushion-cut diamond on a gold band. She said, "Yes. Mom says you'll help with the engagement party. Fairmont Whistler. 3-night weekend for the families. I need $18,000 for my half. You're the best sister ever. $18,000. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Congrats. I'll figure something out." He replied with a champagne emoji and a heart. "Whistler is going to be amazing," my mother said on the phone the next day. Connor found this incredible suite with a fireplace and mountain view. His fiancée's family is flying in from Halifax. "Mom, I can't go. The acquisition closes in 3 weeks. Ether is being bought by a major firm. I can't leave. Oh, Marin. You always have an excuse. Work, work, work. Your brother just got engaged. This is a family moment. The least you can do is pay for it since you can't even bother showing up. The least I could do. The Fairmont booking was $9,400 for 3 nights across 4 rooms. Flights for my parents from Kamloops, $860 return. Dinner reservations, spa packages, welcome gifts, another $4,200. Total, $14,460 for my contribution alone. I transferred it that night. Then I checked my checking account. Balance, $3,180. 12 days until the acquisition closed. 12 days until my equity stake converted to $340,000. 12 days until I could finally breathe. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror before bed. Something I've done 1,000 times. My mother is 5'3", dark brown hair, hazel eyes. My father is 5'8", stocky, brown eyes, ruddy complexion. Connor is 5'9", built like my father. Same eyes, same jaw. I am 5'10", gray-green eyes, sharp cheekbones, lean frame, light hair that goes almost blonde by August. I look like no one in my family. When I was 14, I asked my mother why I was so much taller than everyone. She looked at me like I had accused her of something criminal. What kind of question is that? You got your grandmother's height. End of discussion. My grandmother was 5'4". I saw the photos. I never asked again. The next 5 weeks were a blur. Aether's CEO resigned unexpectedly, personal reasons, no details, and the acquiring firm panicked. Due diligence fell entirely on me. Investor calls, compliance filings, operational audits, staff transition plans. I worked 15 hours a day, sometimes 17. I slept on the couch in the office kitchen because going home meant losing 90 minutes to transit. I ate meal replacement bars and drank 4 coffees a day from the Tim Hortons on Robson Street. My doctor had flagged my blood pressure at my last checkup. Miss Calloway, these numbers concern me. You're 31. You should not be on the edge of stage 2 hypertension. I didn't slow down. The acquisition was worth $48 million. 63 employees depended on this deal. My equity stake would vest at $340,000. I told myself I just needed to hold on. I remember reaching for a glass of water in the washroom. I remember my hand not cooperating. I remember the lights in the mirror doing something strange, stretching, warping. I remember thinking, very clearly, I need to sit down. Then the floor. Then nothing. My colleague David found me at 5:53 p.m. By 6:10, I was in an ambulance. By 6:55, I was in the emergency department at VGH. Diagnosis: ruptured cerebral aneurysm. Emergency surgery required within hours. The hospital called my emergency contact at 7:08 p.m. No answer. Again at 7:35. No answer. Again at 8:10. No answer. At 8:45, they tried my father's number. Voicemail. At 9:30 p.m., 4 hours after I collapsed, my mother finally called back. In Canada, the surgery itself was covered by MSP, but the hospital needed next-of-kin consent for the procedure. And I was unconscious. Mrs. Calloway, your daughter has a ruptured aneurysm. She needs emergency surgery tonight. We need verbal consent from a family member to proceed. Tonight? We're in Whistler. Connor's engagement dinner is in an hour. Can't you just, she signed a general consent form when she was admitted, right? Can't you use that? The charge nurse, a woman named Priya Sandhu, 37 years old, 12 years in neurology, gripped the phone so hard the case cracked. Mrs. Calloway, your daughter could die. We need family consent for this specific procedure. Silence. Then muffled voices. My mother covering the phone. I could hear Connor in the background. Mom, the caterer is waiting. Fine. Yes, you have my consent. Do whatever you need to do. Will come down after the weekend. The hotel is non-refundable. Marin would understand. She's always been the practical one. Priya made a note in my file. She told me later she wrote it with her jaw clenched so tight she chipped a tooth. Verbal consent obtained 2138. Family declined to attend. Patient remains without family support. The surgery took 5 hours and 40 minutes. Dr. Anwar Nasiri, one of the best neurosurgeons in British Columbia, repaired the ruptured vessel and relieved the pressure on my brain. I was moved to the neuro ICU at 3:20 a.m. Room 614, glass-walled, monitors tracking every heartbeat, fluorescent lights that never shut off. At 8:15 p.m. the following evening, a woman walked into VGH. She approached the front desk. "I'm here for room 614. Marin Calloway." The receptionist checked. "Are you family?" A pause. Something flickered across the woman's face. "Yes." "Your name?" "Helen Ashworth." She was given a visitor badge. She took the elevator to the 6th floor. She walked down the corridor until she reached room 614. Then she stopped. She did not knock. She did not ask to go in. She did not call for a nurse. She pulled the hallway chair to the glass wall and sat down. And she stayed there, watching, for 3 hours and 47 minutes. The ICU security camera recorded everything. 8:15 p.m. A woman, early 60s, silver-streaked auburn hair, gray wool coat, stops outside room 614. 8:30 still seated, hasn't moved. 9:12. Priya approaches, asks if she needs anything. The woman shakes her head. 10 still there, hands folded in her lap, eyes never leaving the glass. 11:15 she stands, presses her fingertips to the glass for a long moment. 12:02 a.m. she walks away. Priya told me later, "I've worked this unit for 12 years. I've seen every kind of family. I've never seen someone sit outside a glass wall for nearly 4 hours like they were terrified they didn't deserve to walk through it." She came back the next night. 7:45 p.m. Same gray coat. This time she brought a book. She read in the hallway chair, looking up at my room every few pages. At 10:30, she closed the book. She stood up. She walked to the door. This time, she went inside. Priya watched through the glass from the nurse's station. The woman pulled the chair close to my bed. She sat down. She looked at my face for a very long time. Then she reached out and, very gently, brushed a strand of hair from my forehead. Her lips moved. Priya couldn't hear through the glass, but she could read the shape of the words. Later, Priya asked her what she'd said. Helen Ashworth smiled a sad, fractured smile and whispered, "I told her I was sorry I missed everything." She stayed for 52 minutes. Then she left. Priya checked the visitor log that night. November 11, Helen Ashworth, 8:15 p.m. to 12:02 a.m. November 12, Helen Ashworth, 7:45 p.m. to 11:37 p.m. November 13, Helen Ashworth, 7:30 p.m. to 11:50 p.m. November 14, Helen Ashworth, 7 p.m. to 11:20 p.m. No other names. No Janet Calloway. No Dale Calloway. No Connor Calloway. Just Helen Ashworth, a woman none of us had ever heard of. On the morning of November 13, Dr. Nasiri ordered a follow-up scan. The aneurysm repair was holding, but there was new swelling, vasospasm, a dangerous narrowing of the blood vessels that can happen after a rupture. If it progressed, it could cause a stroke. The treatment was covered by MSP. But what was not covered was the private rehabilitation facility that would give me the best chance of full cognitive recovery. Pacific Neurological Recovery Center in West Vancouver. 8-week program. Cost, $211,000. This is where it gets strange. On November 14, a wire transfer arrived at the hospital's patient services office, $211,000, from a numbered holding company called HRA Capital Trust, designated for patient Marin Calloway, room 614. Memo line, private rehabilitation program, full payment, do not disclose source to patient or family. Sandra Okafor, the patient services coordinator, had been in hospital administration for 19 years. She had seen families mortgage houses, launch GoFundMe campaigns, sell cars to cover medical costs. She had never seen $250,000 appear from nowhere with instructions to keep it secret. She called the number attached to the wire. Helen Ashworth. Miss Ashworth, This is Sandra Okafor from Vancouver General. I'm calling to confirm your payment for patient Marin Calloway. It's confirmed. I need to verify your relationship to the patient. A pause. Family. Can you be more specific? A longer pause. Sandra could hear the woman breathing. Measured. Controlled. Like someone choosing each word carefully. I'm her mother. Sandra looked at the file. Emergency contact, Janet Calloway. Mother. Dale Calloway. Father. Miss Ashworth. Our records indicate the patient's mother is Janet Calloway. There is more than one way to be a mother, Miss Okafor. Please process the payment and make sure Marin gets the best care available. She doesn't need to know who paid. Not yet. She has enough to process. The line went dead. Sandra sat back in her chair. She looked at the payment on her screen. Then she looked out the window toward the ICU wing. Through the corridor glass, she could see a woman sitting alone in the hallway outside room 614, auburn hair, gray coat, a book open on her lap but unread, eyes fixed on the glass. That woman, Sandra murmured, is the only family that girl has. Meanwhile, in Whistler, my mother was posting Instagram stories, champagne toasts, mountain views, Connor and his fiancée beaming in matching flannel. My mother captioned one photo. So proud of my baby boy. The best weekend of our lives. The best weekend of their lives. While I was lying in a hospital bed with a swollen brain and no one to hold my hand. I woke up on a Tuesday. White ceiling. The hum of machines. Pain behind my eyes, like a nail being slowly driven in. I turned my head. The chair beside my bed was empty. No flowers. No cards. No family members asleep in uncomfortable positions. Just an empty chair and, on the bedside table, a small potted orchid, white, perfectly healthy, and a book I had never seen before. The Stone Angel, by Margaret Lawrence. Hardcover. Well worn. A first edition by the look of it. I didn't own this book. Priya came in. Miss Calloway, welcome back. Her smile was warm. Genuine. How are you feeling? Like someone took an axe to my skull. How long? 6 days. You had a ruptured aneurysm and a vasospasm complication. Dr. Nasiri did incredible work. You're going to recover. Where's my family? Priya's smile didn't waver. But something behind her eyes shifted. Your mother called the hospital twice. She signed the consent form by phone. They were in Whistler for your brother's engagement. They didn't come. No. I stared at the ceiling. Then, the orchid. The book. Where did those come from? Priya sat down the blood pressure cuff. There was a woman. She came every night while you were unconscious. What woman? She gave her name as Helen Ashworth. She came every single night. The first night, she sat outside your room for almost 4 hours. Didn't come in, just watched through the glass. Cold crept up my arms. I don't know anyone named Helen Ashworth. Priya handed me the iPad. She signed the visitor log each night. I scrolled through. Helen Ashworth, Helen Ashworth, Helen Ashworth, Helen Ashworth. 4 nights. No one else. She also told one of our staff, Priya said carefully, that she's your mother. My mother is Janet Calloway. She was in Whistler drinking champagne. Priya said nothing. She didn't need to. I borrowed Priya's laptop. My hands trembled, but I managed to type, Helen Ashworth, Vancouver, British Columbia. The results loaded. Helen Ashworth, age 62. Founder and CEO of Ashworth & Partners, one of the largest independent wealth management firms in Western Canada. Offices in Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto. Assets under management, $1.4 billion. Board member of 3 national charities. Recipient of the Order of British Columbia for philanthropic contribution. There was a photo. Auburn hair streaked with silver, gray-green eyes, high cheekbones, tall, lean frame. I stared at that photo for a very long time. Gray-green eyes. I have gray-green eyes. My mother has hazel. My father has brown. My brother has brown. Where do your eyes come from, Marin? I'd wondered 1,000 times in 1,000 mirrors. I kept searching. Ashworth Foundation. Education grants. A website. Elegant. Professional. I clicked on post-secondary bursaries. A list of recipients by year. 2014. Marin E. Calloway, University of British Columbia, $12,000. 2015. Marin E. Calloway, University of British Columbia, $12,000. 2016. Marin E. Calloway, University of British Columbia, $12,000. 2017. Marin E. Calloway, Sauder School of Business MBA, $28,000. My name. 4 years. The bursary I received in my second year. The one that appeared out of nowhere. No interview. No essay requirement. The one that covered my tuition and living expenses for the rest of my degree and my entire MBA. The one my mother always resented. Must be nice, getting a free ride, she'd say whenever I mentioned school. Connor had to work for everything he has. Nobody handed him anything. Nobody handed him anything. Except me. $214,600 and counting. It wasn't a random bursary. It was Helen Ashworth. I opened The Stone Angel. On the inside cover, in neat handwriting, "To my daughter, I hope one day you'll understand why I stayed on the other side of the glass. H." Everything blurred. I realized I was crying. I called David Chen, my colleague, the one who found me on the washroom floor. "David, I need to know something." Aether's largest investor. The one who came in during the Series A. "Who is it?" "Marin." "Oh, thank God. You're awake. We've been the whole team sent you a card. It's probably at the nurse's station." "David, the investor." He hesitated. "Why?" "Ashworth and partners. They invested in Aether, didn't they?" Silence. "How did you?" "When?" 2022. Series A. $2.6 million. The year I joined Aether. Did Helen Ashworth make any specific requests? "Marin, I really don't think." "Did she?" David sighed. "She asked to remain anonymous. She asked that her name never come up in team meetings. And she asked, this is from Marcus. He told me once after a few drinks she asked to be notified immediately if anything ever happened to you." "If anything ever happened to me." "She called me," David said quietly. "The night you collapsed. Before I even had time to call your family. She already knew. She asked which hospital. She asked if you were alone." I closed my eyes. "Who is this woman, Marin?" I looked at the book in my lap, at the handwriting on the inside cover. "To my daughter. I think," I said slowly, "she's my mother." Day 7. My mother walked into the VGH lobby at 10:45 a.m. on a Monday. I wasn't there to see it, but Priya told me everything. Security cameras filled in the rest. Janet Calloway was tanned, not Whistler tanned. She'd extended the trip, added 2 nights at a spa in Tofino. She was wearing new boots and carrying a Hudson's Bay shopping bag. She walked straight to the information desk. "I'm here for my daughter, Marin Calloway, room 614. When can she be discharged?" The clerk, a young man named Ravi, pulled up my file. "Let me check the account status, Mrs. Calloway." "Account status? It's Canada. There's no bill. There are some additional services on file. Let me see. It appears a private rehabilitation program has been fully funded for your daughter. $211,000. Paid in full by a family member." My mother went rigid. "What family member? Nobody in our family has that kind of money." "I'm not authorized to disclose that, ma'am." The donor requested anonymity. "But you're welcome to review the visitor log." Ravi handed her the iPad. My mother scrolled. November 11, Helen Ashworth. November 12, Helen Ashworth. November 13, Helen Ashworth. November 14, Helen Ashworth. No Janet Calloway. No Dale Calloway. No Connor Calloway. The color drained from my mother's face like someone had pulled a plug. The iPad slipped from her fingers and hit the counter. She didn't pick it up. She just stood there, mouth open, staring at the name. "Helen Ashworth," she whispered. Ravi asked if she was all right. She didn't answer. She knew that name. My mother walked into the neurology wing like someone walking toward a sentencing. Her footsteps were slow. Her hands were trembling. She turned the corner toward room 614 and stopped. 15 feet away, sitting in the hallway chair, was Helen Ashworth, reading a book, calm, composed. Helen looked up. Their eyes met. 31 years. Helen stood slowly. She didn't move toward my mother. She just stood there, waiting. Helen. My mother's voice was barely audible. Helen didn't respond for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was low and steady, every word precise. 31 years, Janet. You told me she would be loved. You told me she would be cherished. You told me giving her to you was the right thing, because I was 20 and broke and alone and you had a husband and a house and a plan. She took one step forward. So I gave her to you. I signed the papers. I walked away. And every single day since, I have wondered if she was happy, if she was safe, if she knew she was wanted. My mother's mouth opened, closed. I found out the truth 3 years ago, Helen continued. I hired someone, discreetly. And do you know what they told me? They told me my daughter sends 35% of her income to her family. They told me she lives in a studio apartment in Kitsilano, while her brother drives a $60,000 truck that she paid for. They told me she hasn't taken a vacation in 4 years. Helen's voice never rose. It didn't need to. And this week, Janet, my daughter was in surgery, alone. And you were in Whistler, celebrating your son's engagement party, an engagement party my daughter paid for. Helen, I didn't know how serious. The hospital called you. The nurses called you. They told you she could die. And you chose Whistler. You chose Connor. You have always chosen Connor. She looked at my mother with something beyond anger. I gave you my daughter because I thought you would love her better than I could. I was wrong. You didn't love her at all. You used her. My mother's face crumpled. Helen, please. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I spent 31 years standing on the other side of the glass because I thought it was better for her, because I thought she had a real family. I was done being on the outside. Today, I walk through the door. She turned and walked toward my room. My mother stood frozen in the hallway. I was sitting up in bed when my mother came in. She looked terrible. Tanned, but terrible. Eyes darting. Hands shaking. Marin, we need to talk. I looked past her. Through the glass, I could see a woman in the hallway. Auburn hair. Gray-green eyes. Who is she? Who? The woman in the hallway. The one who's been here every night. The one who paid $211,000 for my rehabilitation. The woman named Helen Ashworth. My mother's face went white. Marin, listen to me. Is she my mother? Silence. The kind of silence that is its own answer. Mom, is Helen Ashworth my biological mother? My mother sat down in the visitor chair. The empty chair. The one that had been empty for 6 days. It was 1,994, she whispered. Helen and I were roommates at UBC. She got pregnant. The father was gone, some guy who went back to Australia. She was 20 years old, no money, no family in Canada. She was going to give the baby up for adoption. She looked at her hands. Your father and I had been trying for 2 years. We couldn't conceive. I told Helen we'd take you. A private adoption. Keep it in the family, so to speak. She agreed. She signed everything. She trusted me. And then, 3 years later, I got pregnant with Connor. A miracle, the doctor said. And suddenly I had a biological child, my own. And you were. She stopped. I was what? Say it. You were a reminder. Of Helen. Of the fact that I couldn't do it on my own. Every time I looked at you, I saw her. Her height. Her eyes. Her intelligence. You were supposed to be mine, but you were always hers. I felt something crack open inside my chest. Not from the surgery, something older. Something that had been fracturing for 31 years. So you punished me. I didn't. $214,000, Mom. In 7 years. Every time Connor needed something, you called me. Every time there was a crisis, you called me. Not because I owed you, but because making me pay was easier than admitting what you felt. Marin. And the worst part. My voice was shaking. The worst part is that all this time, there was a woman out there who wanted me. Who paid for my education without telling me. Who invested in my company just to be near me. Who sat outside my hospital room for 4 hours because she was afraid she didn't have the right to come in. I pointed at the glass. She was here, every single night. And you were in Whistler. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice. In 1994, you chose to take me, and then resent me for existing. Last week, you chose champagne and spa treatments while I was in surgery. You chose Connor. You always choose everyone except me. My mother stood up. You can't mean. Get out. Marin. Get out of my room. Go home. Tell Dad whatever you want. Tell Connor he's not getting another cent from me. And don't come back unless you're ready to tell me the truth. All of it. She left. She didn't say sorry. She didn't say she loved me. She just walked out, her new boots clicking down the corridor. I watched her go through the glass. And then I watched someone else walk in. Helen Ashworth, 62 years old. Auburn hair, gray-green eyes. My eyes. She stopped in the middle of the room. Close enough to see me. Far enough to give me space. Neither of us spoke. The monitors beeped. Outside, the hospital hummed its endless rhythm. I don't know how to start, she said. Her voice was warm but unsteady, like someone holding back 31 years of current. Start with the glass, I said. The first night. Why didn't you come in? She looked at her hands. Because I signed a piece of paper in 1994 that said I had no right to. Because I gave you away. Because every day since, I've wondered if that was the worst mistake of my life or the only choice I had. She looked up. Your high school graduation. I was in the parking lot. I watched families stream out with flowers and balloons, and I sat in my car and cried. Your UBC convocation. I was in the back row, behind a family of 6. Your MBA ceremony. I sent an anonymous donation to the school and watched the live stream from my office. Every milestone, Marin. I was there. But always outside. Always behind the glass. She met my eyes. That first night here, when I saw you through that window tubes, monitors, so still I thought, this is my daughter, and she doesn't even know I exist. What right do I have to walk through that door? But you stayed. I couldn't leave you alone. Not again. I felt tears sliding down my face. I didn't wipe them away. The bursary, I said. That was you. 2014. I'd been looking for you for years. When I found out Janet had never told you about me, I wanted to respect that. But I also wanted to help. So I created the grant. Made sure you qualified. The investment in Ether. 2022. When I learned you were working there, I put in $2.6 million. Not because I expected a return, although the company is brilliant, but because I wanted to be close, even if you never knew. And the $211,000. She smiled slightly. That was easy. You were hurt. Someone had to make sure you got the best possible care. That's what mothers do. You could have stayed away. You could have let Janet handle it. Janet, Helen said the name carefully, has been handling it for 31 years. Handling it by treating you like a debt she never wanted to carry. Handling it by draining your savings to fund a son she sees as her real child. Handling it by going to Whistler while you were in brain surgery. She shook her head. I couldn't stay away anymore. I had a question. One I'd been afraid to ask. Your life. Do you have other children? No. She paused. I was married for 9 years. Divorced in 2015. He said I was never fully present. That some part of me was always somewhere else. With someone I'd lost. She looked at me. He was right. You gave up. I didn't give up. I built. The firm, the foundation, the grants. I told myself that even if I couldn't be your mother, I could make sure you had every opportunity. That money would never be the reason you couldn't reach something. She met my eyes. I know it's not the same as being there. I know 31 years of distance isn't erased by a check, or a book, or a chair in a hallway. But it was what I could do. What happens now? I asked. Helen took a breath. That's entirely up to you. I've waited 31 years. I can wait longer. I can walk out of this room and never contact you again, if that's what you want. Is that what you want? No, her voice cracked, just barely. I want to know what you read, what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night. I want to have coffee with you on Saturday mornings. I want to be the person you call when everything falls apart." She paused. "But I know I haven't earned that. I know this is complicated. I know there are no clean answers." I looked at this woman, this stranger who had paid for my education, invested in my company, and sat outside my hospital room because she believed a piece of paper from 1994 meant she didn't deserve to come in. Then I looked at the empty hallway where my mother had walked away without saying sorry. "My whole life," I said slowly, "I thought love was something I had to buy. I paid my family's bills. I funded their vacations, and their failures, and their celebrations. I gave them everything, and they still left me here alone." I looked back at Helen. "You owed me nothing. You didn't even know if I'd want to see you. And you still showed up every single night." I reached out my hand. "Sit down, please." Helen walked forward. She sat in the chair beside my bed, the chair that had been empty for 6 days. For the first time in 31 years, she was beside her daughter. Finally, on the right side of the glass. I left VGH on November 19. Helen drove me to the rehabilitation center in West Vancouver. We didn't say much during the ride through Stanley Park, the November rain streaking the windows, the Lions Gate Bridge disappearing into low cloud. We had 31 years of conversations ahead of us. There was no rush. The Ether acquisition closed while I was in rehab. I signed the documents via video call from my room, overlooking the ocean. The deal went through at $48 million. My equity vested at $340,000. For the first time in my adult life, I had money that was mine, that no one could guilt me into giving away. Connor's restaurant opened in January. Without my monthly contributions, the cash flow collapsed within 6 weeks. He tried to call me. I declined every call. He tried texting. "Marin, I really need help here. Mom said you'd always come through." I blocked his number. My mother called, left voicemail after voicemail. "Marin, please. After everything we've done for you. Your brother needs you. Family is family." I deleted them without listening past the first sentence. Everything they'd done for me. They'd taken a baby from a scared 20-year-old, raised her as a lesser child, and spent 7 years extracting $250,000 from her while treating her like an obligation. Dale Calloway, the man I'd called Dad for 31 years, didn't know the full truth until my mother told him in a screaming argument that the neighbors heard through the walls. He called me once, a few weeks later. His voice was quiet, tired. "I always wondered, Marin. You were so different from us. Not just how you looked, how you thought, how you carried yourself. I should have asked. I should have fought harder for you against your mother's nonsense. I'm sorry I didn't." I told him he had nothing to apologize for. He was a decent man trapped in someone else's lie. I wished him well. I meant it. I met Helen for coffee on a rainy Saturday in December. A small place on Main Street, the kind with mismatched mugs and handwritten menus. It was awkward at first. We didn't know each other's rhythms. Didn't know if we took cream or sugar. Didn't know each other's favorite books or memories or fears. But we were learning. At one point, she reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph. Small, faded, creased at the corners. A young woman, maybe 20, standing on Wreck Beach, laughing at something off camera. Wind in her hair. Pure, unguarded joy. "A friend took this in the summer of 1994, Helen said. 2 months before you were born. It was the last time I felt like myself. The last time before I signed those papers and walked away." She put the photo back. I carried it for 31 years. Every time I wanted to give up, every time I thought maybe she's better off without me, I'd look at this photo and remember. That girl on the beach loved her baby, even if she couldn't keep her. She looked at me across the table. "I didn't find that girl again. But I found something she would have wanted even more. I found you. People say blood is thicker than water. But my blood family left me in a hospital bed while they drank champagne in Whistler. They took my money for 7 years. They treated me like a checking account with a heartbeat. And a stranger, a woman I had never met, sat outside my glass wall for 4 hours because she was afraid a 31-year-old signature meant she didn't have the right to come in. She paid for my education without ever asking for credit. She invested in my company just to be near me. She paid $211,000 for my recovery and asked the hospital to keep her name secret. Who is family? Is it the people who share your paperwork but treat you like a burden? Or is it the person who stands outside the glass, waiting 31 years, just to be allowed through the door? My mother chose Whistler while I was dying. Helen chose to stay every single night, even when she believed I would never know she existed. If you are in a family that treats you like a wallet that takes everything and gives nothing, that makes you feel like you have to purchase love that should be freely given, I want you to ask yourself one question. Who is sitting outside the glass wall of your life, waiting to be let in? And who is already on a plane to somewhere else? The answer might change everything. Marin Calloway, Vancouver, British Columbia, December 2025.